There's quite a bit of age difference between Adam and Mr. Satan.
How much do you think?
Oh, I would say about 20 years.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Now, who were your influences as far as harmonica?
Well, obviously, when I was, learning on harp, I listened to all the great players. So, and I teach at a music school down in the city sometimes. So guys like I love James Cotton. Obviously Little Walter for amplifier harp, Sonny Terry. But I also listened to a lot of sax players, very much the way that Little Walter did way back when. He would listen to Louis Jordan and his Tiffany 5, and I listened to Maceo Parker, Hank Crawford, guys like that, a lot of alto players. I love Sonny Rollins, Coltrane, and I try to work. And I play guitar, by the way, too. I play a lot of funk guitar. Or I did back in college. In fact, everybody in college knows me as a guitar player, not a harp player. So I think sometimes like a harp player, and sometimes like a sax player, sometimes like a organ player, and sometimes like a guitar player.
And your influence?
No, I don't listen to music.
You don't listen to music?
I listen to some of the old blues we be playing as we come from New York over here. I'm a creator. In order to create, from my medallion to my music, I create it. So I cannot listen to someone else's music and be influenced by them because I'm not totally creating.
Okay, well then let's change that question to who are some of your favorite blues artists?
Me?
Besides yourself.
I like Mr. Johnny Winter, as corrupt as he might be.
We put on...
And let's see.
We put on some Muddy Waters and we're driving in Junior Parker and the old John Williams and Sonny Williams and stuff.
I dig everybody because they're doing their thing or doing whatever they're doing. If they call it their thing or they took it from somebody else or what. But as far as any favorite, I got to be my favorite person. And I really don't listen to we were talking about this coming over earlier today. I don't even listen to my own music because you go back trying to do what you did yesterday. That's sort of bass backwards. Try to do what you did yesterday today. If you're evolving or growing, you must take today as another means of stepping toward your never-ending goal.
We take almost any kind of song. We might do a straight-ahead blues tune, like Kansas City, and give it our own kind of feel. Then we do a song on the album we had, Don't Get Around Much Anymore. We do a lot of funk tunes, none of which were on the album that we just released. And we do all of those when we play in concert and on the street. We'll do some tunes that are almost like rock tunes. We'll do What I Say by Ray Charles. So we have a wide spectrum, and but the instrumentation that we have, the harp and the guitar, and each of us going through 2 amps, that's part of our sound. And plus his percussion and the way we make that work.
I tell everybody everywhere I go, music is done so much. It's not an international language. It's an international appreciation given by people. This is what you project your language with. So I'm a messenger of respect at the same time as playing music. If music was an international language, you need not to converse with anybody. You need to just get your guitar and go over there and play to it. They know exactly what you wish, what it won't work. But it can be an appreciation. So my thing is, musicians have gone into various towns and brought forth so much disastrous feelings for people, disrespecting their daughters. Once we played in Massachusetts, we opened for Mr. Bodell, and he closed for us over the Channel in Boston. And we left that morning, no ladies or anything, because my wife is always with me anyway. So I said, don't you feel good leaving here? We haven't. Some young ladies even asked me to dance. I told them, no ma'am, this old man is tired. I wasn't tired. I thought I was big gorillas beat me on the outside. I want to go back home just as fair-faced as I was when I got there. So they want us back over there. The boss don't ask about anybody. Our agency was telling us what they asked about Satan and Adam. This is the kind of report I like to leave. Not come to town seeing who I can make it to a motel with, but seeing how much respect that I can project and produce as the given time that I'm there. Then I've achieved my purpose. Music can do well without me, but as far as respect go, I guess if everybody in this world gets the message that the one person, Mr. Satan, is out here projecting more respect than all the people supposed to be God's people. Some of these so-called believers will turn around and stop creating new curse words and new weapons to kill one another with and start showing some respect, and we'll have a better world.
It's funny, we used to play down in Times Square sometimes. We would load everything in my car and put his shopping cart on the roof and tie it down and go down to Times Square. And, there was always this group of the religious people on one corner. This one woman who was always there, repent now, believe in Jesus, this and that. And of course, there we would be in the other corner, and I would say, well, you can have that thing in that corner and Satan and Adam in this corner, and that was part of where our music came from. I think is that real. There's a sort of New York street thing which you can't get out of what we do. Just that kind of aggressiveness. And
have you played all over the United States? Or?
No, not really. We
Not
on the
really.
East Coast.
We haven't done the West Coast. We're going to the Chicago Blues Festival this year. We were invited. We'll be there.
We're working on it.
Friday, June 5th. Yeah, we're going to be closing down one of the nights.
We're working on it, Mr. Jack. We definitely
And we've been,
on
of course, over in Europe. We were on
Tell
tour.
about the agency. We got a good agency. They get us.
Good agency on West 57th Street called Talent Consultants International. We got one of the saws. We were playing in a bar down in Greenwich Village one night back, and this has all happened in the last year and a half really. Before that, we hadn't taken step foot out of New York.
You're going to get what's coming to you. You
Well, I
really
hope
will. And so this was what was that we played. We didn't seek this because my wife was sitting in a little club that we were playing in, and she spoke to the lady in charge of the TCI Talent Consultant.
Yeah, we just gave us her card.
Spoke with my wife, and then her and my compadre here went down. I didn't even want to go. I'm not even interested in business. They went down, and so my wife said, "You going out?" It's about a month later. I said, "Well, if y'all go the next time, I'll go." So she said, and she brought forth what she said. It wasn't a falsified issue with receipt. It was a factual issue with results. She brought about many jobs that we never would have speculated on going on.
Have you played any shows down in the South at all, like Mississippi?
Well, we played the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival last year.
But not Mississippi. That's my home state.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Right.
Where are you from, Mississippi?
Mount Olive, Mississippi. He was there. He was at the Big River show.
It's not the Delta. It's sort of catty corners. If you went from the Delta down through Jackson and sort of towards the southeast, you get it's about 40 miles.
I'm between Alabama and Louisiana, down near the Gulf Coast, because I'm 108 miles from the Gulf water.
Out of the places you've played, are there any memorable, bizarre type instances you've come across?
One in particular was the Miraculous in Sion, Switzerland. That's
in the Alps or in the skiing country.
That's the most beautiful little club I've ever seen in my life. Oh yes, they had a steam up there.
The smoke thing, like MTV.
As though we were straight out of hell, and they brought us on all this steam and stuff. I like that. And
the audience stuff.
Ferrari, as far as outdoor musical festivals, I would rather play nowhere but there.
We played a buskers festival in Ferrara, which is it's between Venice and Bologna over in Italy. And
it was fantastic.
Because we'd been in the U2 movie, I don't know if your audience knows anything about that.
Rattling On.
Rattling On. We were featured very briefly in Rattling On. They all knew that over there, and I guess U2 is a big thing. So the fact that we had been sanctified by being put briefly in Rattling On meant a lot to them. But we had a crowd. We played on the street in a lot of places. We've never had a crowd like that. They would surround it. 200, 300 people, 7 deep for 20 minutes while we were setting up our stop.
We didn't play but once or twice a night because in the daytime it was ridiculous.
They would just stare at us.
The other musicians had to work very hard.
And they had a camera competition. I've never seen so many photographers in my life. Everybody was paparazzi.
We running from the music.
Yeah.
I could sit out with, I met a guy with that name, Mr. Harnell. He was a drunk. And like I said, I go with the wine drinkers because they breathe the same air we do, and they're people too. So the guy was filming me. I said, take a picture of him. I lifted him up. He was laying on the streets. Now we're on the front page on the newspaper the next day. So the police started out at him. Every time I turned around, they would put him in jail. I guess they said, boy, you're getting too popular. We're going to start giving you some trouble. He left and went to Bologna. I used to take his guitar in the daytime and sit out there by this, and it was like a church that was not being attended, but it's an old relic, if you will, something for the tourists to see where maybe Columbus went to church, who knows. It's probably 700 or 800 years or maybe 1,000 years old, very old church. And I would take and sit out there. By the time I get through, that's $40 or $50, which is 100,000 lira there. So I would give it to him because he wasn't doing anything. He's native there, and I'm from out of the country. So I did this.
They love the blues over there.
They loved us.
Do you find that the European audiences are more appreciative than American audiences?
Not necessarily.
I've heard that they know American blues artists and stuff better. But we were on a sort of funny tour, which was more like playing one club for 7 nights in a row, and it wasn't really a blues audience. It was a club that might have had any kind of music at all, and so were unusual, and I think some crowds really grabbed on us, and some crowds didn't know quite what to make of us, and maybe it took them a few days to figure it out.
I said the most beautiful audience I ever played to was right here in your city, not trying to cater to
Seriously, no.
that crowd of people in
RiverBlues,
that tent, mister, was dancing and down and everything. I ain't had that nowhere. We'd be glad to come back here. So the people were beautiful in Switzerland, but there was never no audience of 2,000 or 3,000 as we had under that big tent.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So that was the...
Great
It was like semi-likewise in New Orleans, Louisiana also. And so the greatest audiences that well, I came down where I'm from. We are from America. And the greatest audiences I played to have been right here. And we opened at the Channel. It was ridiculous. This used to be an airplane hangar. And we left and went and got ourselves ready and came back. And it looked like, I guess it looked like a big association as they have down in Mississippi. The churches, a whole lot of churches, thousands of people are there. It looked like an association. I couldn't think of how many people could gather that quick. And we went in there like people. And we had open when we had, well, as I said, we opened for Mr. Bo Diddley, and he closed for us, but there was a band in between. And he didn't get any more applause than we did. As a matter of fact, we was listening to the tape last night.
We do sweat.
When the two of you met on the streets, how did you come about pulling together your style that you played now?
I would say he just played his thing, and it was up to me to figure out something that would go along with it, and then bit by bit I might throw something at him, and that happened with a song, a funky thing. He might come up with something, but generally he'll figure out a song. He doesn't write them down, just throws something at me, and I figure out what'll sort of ideally complement it.
It's creative. We have never really gotten down to a rehearsal. It's like we just feel each other.
We almost never rehearse. It's always on the street.
We can talk about something and go on and do it.
Yeah.
Okay, why do you also play the drums? I mean, what's the reason that you have the cymbals and not a drummer?
Well, I had a drummer with me, and he talked so filthy and so disrespectful, so eventually his mouth made me find myself from him. I let them go. Actually, I took a little vacation, and I went to Florida to see my mother and my lady's mother at that time in Suffolk, Virginia. When I got back, the band, what he first saw me playing with, they were playing with me Hamiltons. They had went to a club, and I'm a street musician, so I said, well, y'all fired me. So I had no other choice but get my own self together. Then a man down the street named Mr. Dave House has a barbershop, so he said, Mr. Saint, I said, yeah, Mr. Dave, I got something for you, fella. He said, you playing? He said, here's a set of drums. Fella got them, let me keep them for money, and say he ain't gonna never work no more because he's in jail. He got run out of money, he had to do some more, so he gave me the set of drums. He said, pay me what you want to do for them. I gave him about $50.
So you had drums? I didn't know.
But I gave the drums to some unfortunate drummer, Leon Lovejoy. And I kept the hi-hat for some reason.
He had one hi-hat when I first saw him.
So one day I went out to my little van, and I said, let me try this. So as I was playing with the hi-hat, a lot of people started saying, I thought there was a drum in it with you. I took it up there by the telephone tower to do all the experiment from then on.
No board, right? It was just
no board, on the sidewalk. So, as I said, I grew into all of this. But I used to record myself before all of this happened when I was under Mr. Jesse Stone in the Ray Charles RCBC company. We used to put a mic at my feet, and as I played, both feet would be like tap dance, and it was like a drum at the sound.
You said you came from Mississippi.
Right.
Okay. How long did you live in Mississippi? And
until I was around 17, 18, went into the airborne, paratroopers, into the Army. When I got out of there, my mother and father bought some property also down in Florida. There was a great big hearsay boom going on. Go to Florida, go to Florida, go to Florida. So
now, when you were living in Mississippi and growing up, were you listening to the old blues artists?
But I was playing the piano.
But you were playing the piano. At what age did you start playing the piano?
On 5, 6, something like that. And I used to play. I had good exercise because those sisters would go to church, and I always liked women. You understand me, son? I was a famous little fella.
You used to hang out at juke joints?
Do they have juke joints in that part of Mississippi?
Definitely. That's the place, and another place I told you, Sonny Boy Williamson came and played a whole dance by himself.
By himself, he said, with just a...
The grease was so, the smoke from the greasy hamburgers.
Just Sonny Boy.
Hello, Mr. Jack, I see you in the part of, there go Mr. Bob, you know, part the grease.
Just a harmonica and maybe a mic.
A harmonica, and they had him up on a pedestal like this here. And that big ox-headed man was blowing that off. That whole place was, they were selling quarter whiskey, the homebrew looked like muddy water. And I would get out there, everybody knew me. And it wasn't a thing that I was drinking anything, I just like to be around this type of, and I would always see somebody go fighting. And this I deplored from there, from being that, I know music can be, like I'll tell people in a minute, out there where I play on 125th Street, music is to be enjoyed. I will not entertain disrespect. I will not entertain violence. I'll stop. They can have it.
And we've seen almost everything out there playing on 125th Street. I mean, you get guns.
There's no violence around me, and I will not have any. I will not have any profanity around here. This I despise, because it's not necessary.
Right. I agree.
Leaning posts for profanity is a weakness of the mentality of a person that utilizes it. There are plenty of words preferable, I can see preferable to derogatory remarks. And it's not good to me to, like I tell people this, if you're my best friend, then you deserve the best of my respect. Just because you're my friend don't mean that I'm supposed to meet you and give you an improper greeting. Hello, Mr. Jack. Good morning, Mr. Bob, sir. This is what you should do for your best friend. I even address my wife, Miss Macy, every time, anytime. That's correct.
Are you from New York, Adam?
From the suburbs, actually, about 20 miles north of New York.
When did you start?
Congress. I started when I was 16, actually. I was a senior in high, right before, senior year in high school. And the song that turned me onto the harmonica was Whammer Jammer by the DJ Greg Gaughan. Back, I'm 33, back at that time in high school, if you were in a certain kind of high school environment, that was, DJ Greg Gaughan was a big thing.
Well, I mean, you and I are about the same age.
I'm 33.
If I told you how old I was, you'd think I was.
I mean, I grew up on rock and roll, okay? And the blues influenced rock and roll.
Yeah.
Were you listening to?
Well, I'll tell you.
I mean,
let me tell you what happened. My father is a painter, a very fine painter, and used to and had an eclectic musical taste. He would have Ravi Shankar, he'd have the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's, he'd have Bob Dylan, freewheeling Bob Dylan with harmonica, wheezing, all the time, and Charles Ives and things like that.